Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Hawk Blogger Mornings. I am Brian Nemhauser. You can find me on Twitter and on Instagram at Hawk Blogger. And this is going to be a busy episode because you know what, everybody? We came into training camp with a lot of questions, a lot of pressing questions. And I'm going to try to go through each and every one of them in this show today with the very latest. What we know now versus what we wanted to know. These are incomplete answers. They are not done. We're going to learn more along the way. But there's a few where I have started to get a little bit more conviction about the answer and thought maybe you guys would appreciate knowing where things stand. This is a triple pod Wednesday. Double pod Wednesdays weren't enough. We're going to triple. So you got this show this morning. You will have my instant camp report this afternoon. It's going to probably come a little later than normal because practice, at least on the schedule, says it's going to 3:45 today. It's been ending at 3:15. Not quite sure why if they get longer practices at certain times, but looks like a marathon practice. So a little bit later with that. And then tonight, we are going to have Alyssa Charlton of Fox 13 on Real Hawk Talk at 7 p.m. Pacific time. And she's not the only person. Evan Hill making his triumphant return. Dana O'Gorman making her big return. So it is going to be so fun tonight at 7 o'clock to have a really lively crew together. For people that are Patreon members, you will get the opportunity to ask questions in the Slack channel. I've set it up so that there will be a thread that posts every Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. Hopefully that works in an hour from now. Check it out. Make sure you add your questions, and we'll do our best to answer all of those. So be sure to sign up at patreon.com/hawkblogger. I'm putting a challenge out there if we can make it happen. If we can get 50 new patrons or YouTube members, the cumulative number, Patreon members and YouTube members, if we can get to 50, I will give you some coverage on the road. I will fly out to New England for the first road game of the season and continue this show on the road and hopefully get you some additional insights being on site there. So would love to get some additional patron members and YouTube members. Let's try to kick that off. It would be great to see that. Another way you can help, if you're watching this show on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook, flip on over to YouTube. That helps me. It helps the show grow. Would appreciate it. So that's a small thing you can do. And then obviously give the show a like or click subscribe. Good morning to all the folks tuning in already. I see Hawks fan Matt Man, Kane Muss, Corey Coleman, Isaac, Lipnick, William Awesome Co. Bunch of folks already in here. Caleb Epp. So good morning to all of you. All right, before I get into all the questions, everybody seemed to enjoy the videos from yesterday. I thought I would quickly show you some sights and sounds from yesterday. I'll acknowledge that, for people that are listening to the audio version of this podcast, it's probably not the most riveting to just hear me talking about video clips that you can't see. But for people that are watching, I thought you might enjoy a few quick clips. I'm going to run through these quickly, and hopefully sound is a little bit better today than it was. So let me go with the first one here. This is Hayden Hatton, wide receiver, undrafted free agent, and just catching some passes. I thought he's had a nice camp so far. Has great hands, made a number of good catches. I think he is still like practice squad. That is like what he hopes to do, but that was the first. This next one, Brady Russell. This guy continues the long line of Seahawks tight ends that are just a vibe, as I said on Twitter. I mean, This guy's got the long mane of hair. He's got his hairy belly hanging out. But when he runs, he moves. So really kind of crazy. People are saying the video sound is too loud. All right, I think I can adjust that, see if that is better. Let's try that again. Is that better, folks? So yeah, Brady Russell's kind of an interesting guy. I think they really like him on special teams, and incredibly, he's pretty fast. He moves pretty fast. He's a little small for a tight end, but he moves really fast. Okay, next. Next, we have got just some video of your quarterbacks taking snaps. Nothing too crazy, but just a view of your quarterbacks. Next, we've got some of your defensive linemen running sled drills. There's Nelson Caesar. Here comes Sonny Anderson, number 47. Next. This next one I wanted to show is Aden Dirty teaching the defensive lineman how to perform the swim move properly. And he's running around the hoop here. So you can kind of see him show first. Byron Murphy is first up on the drill. Boom, boom, getting all the way around. You see how he corners? You see how Byron Murphy corners? I mean, it is pretty impressive. Let me show you that again. Just his agility is like an almost edge rusher level. Watch how tight he is to that. It's pretty impressive. Next, we've got a bag drill. They're doing a swim move. This was interesting. There was a time where I didn't get video of it, unfortunately. Dirty was working with the edge rushers, and he really wanted them to dip their shoulder inside and really, instead of running in a straight line and then clubbing, he wanted them to dip inside first and then come back with the club. And literally none of the guys could do it. Like, they went through, I mean, Chenna kind of did it at half speed. He kind of got it. But another guy, I can't remember which one, I think it was maybe Sonny Anderson, he fell when trying to do it. But it was interesting watching them, him work with those guys through that. This next one is just more pad drills. There's Byron Murphy coming right at you. I think this might be my last one that I'll share with you guys. This is the edge rushers going around the hoop. First person here is Boye Mafe. Second person's Chenna. Nice tight loop. This is Derick Hall. He's gotten better at this, I think, significantly. Darrell Taylor. You see, Darrell Taylor's just got really nice bend. I want to show you that part one more time. Might not be obvious when you watch there, but watch how comfortable he is. Look at the angle he gets on his ankle there and the balance that he has. I mean, there's really no loss of speed coming around. That's one of the things that makes Darrell Taylor a pretty good pass rusher, is being able to do that. Josh Oniagu has actually had a pretty good camp, and that's Nelson Caesar, and that last guy is Sonny Anderson. So that's just a view of some of the guys in camp today, or camp yesterday. Thought you guys might enjoy seeing a little bit of the sights and sounds. And that is a video update of what happened yesterday. Okay. I teased it. Let's get into it. If you haven't already given the show a like and click subscribe, now's the time to do it. I'd greatly appreciate it. Let's go through some questions. And if I forget one, if you think there's a big question I haven't answered, shoot it over to me in chat. If you watching this video afterwards, put it in the comment section. I'll do my best to give you an update. So let's start with the question that I teased in the title of this video. This is something I forgot to write up in my practice report yesterday. I didn't mention in my instant camp reaction. And frankly, I don't think I've seen this anywhere. And that is an update on Olu Oluwatimi. He comes in as the odds-on favorite to be the starting center. They basically given him that position. Nick Harris was signed as a backup and has not been getting starter snaps through OTAs, through mini camps, or through training camp. And I had questions about, is Olu, did he add enough weight, enough strength to anchor? This was the question with him. He is a smart player. He is going to know the plays. He's going to be good with the snap count, adjusting protections, all those kinds of things. But is he going to be able to anchor against strong bull rushes? Is he going to be able to move people in the run game? And I will tell you, through 6 practices, the answer is no. He is getting moved. He is getting moved in the run game. He is getting moved in pass pro, especially in these 1v1s, first 2 days of 1v1s. He is getting walked back very regularly. And so my fears about Olu at center so far have been validated. And I don't say that happily. I don't want that to be true, but I also don't want to just blow sunshine. I think as of right now, I think he is going to be not like a terrible center. I don't think that, or anything like where he's just an absolute disaster. I don't think that's what's going on. But he's going to be a problem for the Seahawks if he is their starting center. And as of now, that seems to be the case. I asked Mike McDonald in the press conference yesterday, any updates on Connor Williams? His answer was no. And we haven't heard any updates on Connor Williams on social either. So as far as I know, nothing's going on there. I think there's a chance that the Seahawks wanted to see Olu in pads and maybe see a little bit more of him to decide whether or not they were going to pay a little bit more to secure the help of Connor Williams, either at the beginning of the season or at some point this season. So wanted to share, that is the first update, first answer to the first question. So I was like, hey, why do we start off negative? Well, I'm just telling you guys, that was the teaser in there. I'm not going to make you wait to get the answers. Wanted you to know what I'm seeing. But switching gears, my next question was, how's the offensive line? Is the offensive line better? And my answer right now is yes. I don't think this offensive line looks great. But I will tell, like, there's a number of questions for each player, and I'm going to go through each one. Has Charles Cross taken a step forward? The answer seems to be yes. Now, Albert Breer wrote, like, he thinks he's got all-pro potential. He hasn't had Pro Bowl potential yet, so I don't think that's a little stretch. But Charles Cross has been excellent in 1v1s. He is moving well. He had some really nice run blocks yesterday. He told me in my interview with him, which you can find up on the channel, that he spent a lot of time this offseason on Pilates and flexibility. He feels like he's in great shape. So Charles Cross does seem like he's taken a step forward. He does seem like maybe this is the year he finally becomes the cornerstone left tackle. Laken Tomlinson, was the New York time in New York, was that an aberration, or was it like a regression in his quality? I think he looks good enough. I don't think he looks great. I don't think he looks terrible. There are times he's getting beaten, but he looks like an absolutely acceptable starting guard. And I'll get to Christian Haynes in a second, which relates a little bit to that. I just talked about Olu. Right guard. Anthony Bradford, jury's out. I wanted to say he looks better because there have been some moments where he is just physically overpowering guys. He, had some very good reps against Byron Murphy. But there's also the kind of Anthony Bradford reps that we've seen before where he is giving up quick pressure. He's getting beaten in pass protection too easily. And so I'm not convinced. I think Anthony Bradford is better than he was last year, but last year he was one of the worst starting guards in the NFL. Are we seeing more of what made him appealing, which were some really impressive moments in run blocking, just physical dominance? Yeah, I think we are seeing some more of that than we saw last year. Are we seeing continued challenges in pass protection? Yes. So I think Anthony Bradford is still a question. But we'll talk a little bit more about some other options there that maybe give them some flexibility. Right tackle. There's no question right tackle is in much better shape than it was last year. George Fant has been playing a perfectly good right tackle. I think McClendon Curtis has looked good at right tackle. I even think Mike Jarrell, the 6th-round pick, has looked pretty good. He's not ready to be your starter, but he looks interesting, and they seem excited about him. The coaches are giving him a lot of encouragement. This is a guy that came from Little Findlay College. So reality is this is probably the highest level of coaching by a long shot that Mike Jarrell has ever had. And I think he seems to be responding to it. So right tackle seems good. What's interesting is, McClendon Curtis has the ability to play guard. So that's a good thing if they need him there. Christian Haynes had his best day at practice yesterday, and he played left guard. So now you've got some flexibility at the guard position. Raekwon O'Neal has also been playing guard. I haven't got as much eyes on him, so I can't say. But what I would say is that if the Seahawks were one of the 3 worst offensive lines in football last year, which I don't think is a stretch, I would say they are probably somewhere in the 20s. It wouldn't shock me if they are in the low 20s, 21, 22 out of 32 offensive lines. You might be like, oh man, that's not exciting. Well, I think if the Seahawks offensive line can be around 20th in the NFL, then this offense can operate, and that's a pretty big step forward. Certainly not what we want, but we want better. We want better than last year. And it looks like so far the offensive line is going to be better than last year. This is without Abe Lucas stepping on the field. And I still believe Abe Lucas is going to step on the field. Can't share any details. That's just my belief. And that's not based on any sources. That's just based on my perspective. So I talked about Christian Haynes. I think I'll just say a little bit more that Christian Haynes, the question coming in is Christian Haynes going to be a starter? That was one of our biggest questions. Is he going to be, can he be so good enough can he be good enough that he just forces his way into the starting lineup as a rookie lineman? Just not that common of a thing to do. I think the answer to that is no so far. Although yesterday was a step in the right direction. Through 6 practices, I would say Christian Haynes does not look like he is going to be your starting right guard or left guard in week 1. So, take that for what it is. I'm going to keep going because there's a lot of these questions to get to. We flip over to the other side, rookie, Byron Murphy. Is Byron Murphy going to be an all-timer? Does it look like this guy is just going to come on the scene and be an instant Pro Bowl level rookie? Is he going to be like Jalen Carter last year or Aaron Donald in his rookie year or some of these other defensive linemen that have just dominated right away? My answer so far is no. I don't think Byron Murphy has looked like that kind of player yet. But again, yesterday's practice was his most impressive, and he flashed his flashiest traits, his power, his quickness. And so he could be gaining momentum. Pads are on for the second straight day. Different kind of Byron Murphy started coming out. So jury's out, as is the case with all of these things. This is just an update through 6 practices. Where are we with these questions? These are not final answers. What Byron Murphy looks like is a guy that's going to be instantly productive for the Seahawks. He is going to be a plus player for them very early on. He's going to I think he's going to be a very good run defender, which is really a big deal for a team that needs it. And he is going to be disruptive at times. I think he is going to whip up on some guards and centers. I also would say that he seems, from what I've seen so far, I think he seems most effective playing zero, playing over the center. And I've seen him playing end. I've seen him playing edge. I've seen him all the way on the edge and going against a left tackle or a right tackle. I think that his best that I've seen has come right over the nose, right over the center. So we'll see. But I think he looks like he's just going to be a very positive rotational player and could be getting, starting level snaps by the end of the year, maybe earlier. But that's what I see with Byron Murphy. What about Derick Hall? Can Derick Hall take the year 2 leap that Boye Mafe took? Is he a bust? Would be the other, he was a bust after one season. His first season was bust level, let's put it that way. Are we going to get anything out of our second round pick from a year ago? And my answer doesn't look like a bust. I think that's almost off the board to me as an option. How much better is he going to be in year 2? That's hard to say. But I like the fit in Mike McDonald's defense. I like what I've seen. He's still got a very effective stab, bull rush, power rush. His speed to power is real. And that's just an effective tool. It's an absolute NFL tool. And you get that with some of these twists, with some of the defensive linemen. He's going to catch some guys flat-footed and knock them on their butts. And I think he's going to be better this year. Is he going to be 9-sack Boye Mafe better? I don't think that's a fair expectation to put on his shoulders right now. But I do feel like he is going to be a meaningfully better and more effective contributor than he was a year ago, which is already a big deal because he was kind of a zero last year. Let's talk about edge rush in general, since we're on that topic. What about Boye Mafe? What about Uchenna Nwosu? What about Darrell Taylor? Edge rush looks okay. I do not see this edge rush. I'm not seeing edge rush that no one's starting to Boye Mafe has not taken the next step to where he now looks like an all-pro or that he's going to command a double team every time. Boye Mafe to me looks largely the same player he was a year ago with more experience, more confidence, more know-how. I don't see a meaningful difference in Boye Mafe. And I'm also not seeing him make a ton of plays or win a ton of the one-on-ones. So I can't say it's clear to me that he's taken a step forward. But, we'll see when games come if that's still the case. Uchenna Nwosu, great player to have, effective against the run. Maybe his best part of his game is his run fits and run defense. He looks effective as a pass rusher, but he's not a dominant pass rusher. Charles Cross has absolutely locked him up every time they've gone off. Yesterday, Charles Cross actually got him off balance and knocked him to the ground. I mean, wasn't a great rep for Uchenna. So I think the edge rush, Darrell Taylor, I think looked good. I want to talk to Darrell at some point and ask him some questions about what he's worked on, but I think he's looking okay. I don't think there's nothing there that's like, oh my God, he's made a huge leap or a huge step back. I saw him make a good play in run defense, which is a big deal for Darrell Taylor. But I think this edge group feels like a group of B minus to B plus kind of guys. I don't see the A minus to A level edge rushers. So they're going to have to do it as a group in rotations. They're going to have to do it in games, twists with the defensive linemen. And they're going to have to do it with their talent, which is going to get them, Mafe had 9 sacks last year. That's nothing to sneeze at. But it also wouldn't surprise me if Mafe ends up this year with 5 or 6 sacks or 7 sacks, So that's the state of the edge group. Let's keep going. Inside linebackers were a big question. How is Tyrel Dodson? Is Jerome Baker good? Tyrice Knight? How are these guys looking? And my answer to that is very incomplete. Jerome Baker has not practiced each time. I think he's missed some of these padded practices. Tyrel Dodson has, and he looks good. I think Tyrel Dodson's going to be good. I'm looking forward to seeing him. I haven't seen them victimized in coverage. I did see Dodson make some really nice plays in run support, but it's just too hard to say. Tyrice Knight's done well. He hasn't done anything super flashy, but he seems like a guy that, if anything, I would say he looks like a guy that could get some snaps this year, which is more than I expected coming in. But I'm not sure there's anything about him that says, oh man, he's going to be demanding starter snaps or he's going to push one of these guys. I don't see it. Not yet. So inside linebacker seems fine. I'm not seeing major problems there, but it's just too early. I think we're going to need at least another week of practices before I can give you a better read on that position group. What about Ryan Grubb and this offense? That was a big question. Is it going to look different? Is it going to be in motion? Are we going to see motion? Are we going to see... I've talked about this a lot already, so I won't spend a bunch of time here, but I'm excited. I am more excited now than I was when camp began. And if go back and watch the emergency pod when we found out from UW commenter that Ryan Grubb was going to be hired as the new OC. See how excited I was. I've been excited the whole time. I've managed to get more excited, or he's managed to get me more excited through 6 days of training camp. I love what I'm seeing from the way the offense is approaching things. I love the way I'm seeing Grubb respond. Yesterday was an important day because the defense the prior day, the first padded practice, really won, and the offense didn't have a lot of answers. They came out today with more energy, more physicality, more commitment to the run game, more answers for the defense. And I'll tell you one story that I didn't really get into detail before, which was yesterday. They had been running like they've been working on some running up the middle on a few plays, like not specifically just working on running, but they had a number of run plays. They had a couple of passes. And then there was a play action pass bootleg where Sam Howell comes around, rips around rapidly at the bootleg, hits Derick Young in the flat, wide open. And Grubb didn't just give a little fist pump. He took 3 steps and wound up and was like, yes. I mean, he was pumped, because what I saw happen in that moment is Grubb inserted a play to adjust to what he had been seeing from the defense, to exploit something on the defense, and it worked perfectly. And that's, I guarantee you guys, Shane Waldron is nowhere going like, he's not doing that. And he is not so competitive that he is one day to the next day figuring out how to beat a defense like Mike McDonald's. That's who Ryan Grubb is. This guy is competitive. He is fiery. He is smart. He is resourceful. And he's tough. All those things, which is like sweet. I'm super happy, but I will always think UW made a mistake not hiring him as their head coach. But I'm super happy to take him off their hands. So Ryan Grubb's offense looks multiple. It looks flexible. It looks quick. It looks explosive. It looks like it is emphasizing the weapons that we've got. I think it could not have been a better start to training camp than what we've seen from Ryan Grubb and that offense, and just the fit there. We got a super chat here from Waternapple with a pineapple picture. Thank you for bringing consistently amazing Hawks info. Do you think JSN has a chance of overtaking Lockett this year? That is a great question. Let's actually get to that since we're talking offense right now. Let's talk about JSN and Lockett. 2 peas in a pod. Questions coming into camp. Is JSN ready to take that next step? And kind of alternatively, is Tyler Lockett slowing down? Is like the end is nigh? The answer to both those questions, I would say, is yes. So a little bittersweet. I do think Tyler Lockett just seems to be this looks like maybe his last year. That's my read. No shade against Tyler Lockett. I love the guy. He has not been this sudden. He has not been targeted as often. He's still a very effective player. I think he's going to make plays for the Seahawks this year. I'm going to be honest with you. I have a new question than I did when I started camp, which is Jake Bobo going to take snaps from Tyler Lockett? I think there are questions coming into camp. Is JSN going to take Tyler Lockett's targets? I think the answer to that is yes. I think DK Metcalf is going to take some of Tyler Lockett's targets. I think DK Metcalf might have 150, 160 targets this year. Wouldn't surprise me. I think they are going to really ride him. But it's DK, JSN, clear 1-2, Tyler Lockett, a pretty distant 3. And with what Jake Bobo brings as a blocker in the run game, as well as a receiver, just makes me wonder if Tyler Lockett's going to be a little bit more of a specialist this year than he has been. So it's just a new thought that I have. Don't go crazy with it. Nothing's like, I'm not saying Bobo's playing ahead of him in the depth chart or anything, but it's a question that I have. Thank you for the super chat, Waternapple. We have another super chat from Hawks fan Matt. Man, he says, one thing I'm really looking forward to is having an offense and defense that will actually make halftime adjustments. Hell, Matt, thank you for the super chat. I'm not thinking they're going to wait to halftime. I think these guys are smart enough, capable enough, have enough in their chests, their goodie bags, I should say, to be able to make adjustments on the fly. So yeah, I'm with you. I appreciate the super chat. Since we're on receiver, I just mentioned him, DK Metcalf. I don't know if I came in with a question about DK Metcalf, but he has been such a revelation. He's forced himself to be an answer. Like, is DK Metcalf going to reach his potential to be the best receiver in football? One of the top 5? Because right now, you look at all the rankings, you look at what he's done through his career, he's like a top 15 to 20 receiver. He's not even a top 10. And there's like almost no metrics that would say otherwise. He looks like a guy that is ready to be dominant. And yeah, I think we might see the best year of DK Metcalf's career this year. That's what I think so far. It looks incredibly impressive. I can't wait. Can't wait to see it in games. He's going against legitimately very good competition in the secondary, which I'll talk about in a minute. There's not going to always be cornerbacks as good as the ones the Seahawks are playing against him. And there certainly won't be ones as tall as Riq Woolen. So, yeah. Let's talk about the quarterback competition. Is there a quarterback competition between Sam Howell and Geno Smith? Is Sam Howell going to be able to overtake Geno Smith? And the very clear answer is no. There's not a competition. He's not going to overtake Geno Smith. It started off very, 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 very poorly for Sam Howell. I mean, if I was to tell you the amount of kind of sideward glances and murmurs along the sideline among press mainly, but just observers, when Sam Howell was out there, it was not good, folks. But he seems to have settled in. The last few days, he's played meaningfully better. He's getting the ball out faster. He is on the move more. It looks like Grubb's adjusted to him as well. Kind of can tell that Howell is less of a pocket passer, is better when he's on the move. The pocket's getting moved. He's rolling out. He's bootlegging, those kinds of things. Howell seems a lot more comfortable in those situations, partly because he's a little shorter than I think people realize. I think he's able to see the field a little bit better. And I think he's just an athlete. I think he likes to throw on the move. And so he seems better. And he's growing, I think, which is cool. He's not playing, he's not playing in a way that I would say is at all challenging Geno Smith, but it's good to see that he has started to take steps forward. All right. What else? On the defensive side, is the defense better? Was obviously a key question. And the assumption, the hope has been with Mike McDonald taking over, it'll take a step forward. The defense is better. I don't, to me, that doesn't seem like much of a question. The combination of talent that is playing to at least expectations, if not better in some places, plus the coaching, I think is good. I don't think it has reached its crescendo yet. I think Mike McDonald, you hear him in press conferences, he gives you that impression as well. I don't think he's thrilled yet with how the defense is executing. I think that there's still time to get to it. But it's not bad. This defense is not out there just looking like there's not a lot of busted coverages or wide open players. People don't look physically overmatched. I would say the defense gets like a solid B so far, where it's been in past years, like a D level defense. And the strength of this defense, it's almost hard for me to say because the defensive line is really impressive. The defensive interior players, Jaron Reed's had a nice camp. Leonard Williams has been Leonard Williams. Byron Murphy I already talked about. Hankins, Matt Gotel, those guys are all having their moments. Draymond Jones, I haven't been able to see him in pads, which will also make a difference. But the secondary to me, I mean, Riq Woolen and Devin Witherspoon, they look great. They look really, really good. And Trey Brown's been good, not excellent. He's been victimized a few times, and so I can't say that he has been as good as I'd hoped, but he's been good. But then the safety group's been good. Julian Love's been excellent. I think Kayvon Wallace looks like he's going to really help. Playmaker, energy guy, physical, and Rayshawn Jenkins. So like and Kobe Bryant's had some moments too. So I think that is another, my answer to questions there is it looks like the defense is meaningfully better. I would not be surprised if I was to say now my best prediction is that they will be a middle of the pack defense, like in the teens of rankings, where last year they were in the bottom 5. So a meaningful jump for the Seahawks on the defensive side of the ball. I think those were most of the key questions. I'll tell you a little bit of some of the other ones that are a little bit farther down the list. This is going to get into, in fact, I'm actually going to save some of these because this will get into tomorrow. What I want to start doing is every week, I'm going to try to do maybe every Friday, I am going to give you my updated 53-man roster projections. And so you'll get the back end of the roster, where players fit, who's going to be on it, each week based on what I'm seeing. So I'll give you some answers about the cornerback, the back end of the cornerback room, the back end of the safety room, the back end of the tight end room, the receiver situation, all that I will talk about probably on my Friday show, where I'll go through and go over all of the current projections for the 53-man roster. So what else? I'll hang around and give you a few minutes. If you guys have questions that you think, big questions that you think I haven't answered, I will let you know. I will share a couple things while I'm giving you that moment to see if you have questions in chat. Is another question I had is, how is this coaching staff? Is it the all-star crew that I think it is, or is it struggling? Do they feel like not? Is there cohesion there or not? I am very bullish on this staff. I think Aiden Dirty, it seems like such a great teacher. I watch him every day working with the linemen and the edge players, and I see him teaching them things that they don't already know. So it's cool. It's cool. I love what I've seen from Kennedy Palomalu and what he's doing with Kenneth Walker. I've talked about Grubb. Obviously talked about McDonald. I love what they're doing in practice. So all that's been great. Looks like we do have a question. Hawks fan Matt Man asks, how are you liking your new role as a member of the press so far? I still my answer to that initially is I'm not really a member of the press. I don't know how it's defined. I mean, I am not paid yet to do this work really. As of now, this is all still, me doing it for charity, but that'll change in time. And for people that are wondering what I mean, I've said that all proceeds have gone to charity up until now. I'm still going to make charity a big part of this. But for me to do this full time, I am going to need to pay some bills. Hopefully that's not a huge shock. My current thinking there, by the way, before I answer your question is, we've given away at least $20,000 each year for the past few years. And so my initial thought is that I'm going to guarantee that we will give away at least $20,000 to charity every year. And then leave it open, an option for me to give away more than that. But I really want charity to be at the center of what we're doing always, but I just need to be smart for my family and make sure that we're covering some expenses too. So give me some feedback if you have any thoughts about that approach or if you have another idea. But, for all the people that are Patreon subscribers and YouTube subscribers, I never want to mislead anyone about where the money's going. So we'll give a final update at some point. As far as how I'm liking it, I love it. I will say that I am not sleeping that well. That's the one cost. I am waking up at like 2 or 3 in the morning. My head is racing with questions, new questions. And so then I have to grab my phone and type them into my phone so I don't forget them. I had about 10 questions last night come to my brain. And then it takes a while to go back to sleep. So that part's rough. It's also just packed days. With my son, who you guys know I've talked about, Nate, who is autistic. This is this month of like this part till end of August. We don't have camps or anything set up. A couple things fell through. And so childcare is a challenge. And like today, I'm figuring out how, like, he's still sleeping, but I'm going to have to get him up and dressed and fed. And then I've got to get to camp. I'm trying to figure out how to get childcare here in time so he's not alone for too long. Anyway, so things like that are where my head's at. But the actual experience has been amazing. I love it. I love the people I'm meeting. I love the access. I want as few layers between me and this team as possible to be able to really do what I started to do this podcast for, which is really 2 things. Really my blog, what I started that for. One, since I started, I've been such a passionate fan that I would put so much time into analysis because I didn't want to be crushed on game day. I wanted to have enough information, enough insight that I had a pretty good idea about whether the Seahawks were going to win and even how they were going to win. That's what's driven me the most. And it's served me pretty well. I've actually feel like I have a pretty good general feel for my team over the years and what makes them win, what makes them lose, what players, like all that. So that's one thing, like getting this extra access, being able to see them eye to eye, ask them questions, see how they carry themselves when the cameras are off, see how they interact with each other and different people. All that feeds information for me where I like get to know this team on a deeper level and I can do a better job of anticipating what this team's going to be like. The other reason I started the blog and then the pod is community. Initially, I didn't have as many folks to talk Seahawks with at work, at home. I've had that now for a while. I've got a bunch of people I can do that with. But there are a lot of you out there that have told me that hearing from me, hearing from the Real Hawk Talk crew, watching and listening to us, it's like sitting around listening to friends talk. And you feel a little less lonely. You feel connected. I've seen friendships develop in our Slack channel. For people that are Patreon members, I see friendships developing in our chat, people that are getting to know each other, see each other each morning. And that's meaningful to me because loneliness is like an epidemic, especially for men. And I want to create a place where good people can come together and have something to share. And one of the things I've always loved about sports, and it's unfortunately been tested the last few years for sure, is that it crosses boundaries. It crosses political boundaries. It crosses gender boundaries. It crosses age boundaries, socioeconomic boundaries, race boundaries, religious boundaries. And when you wear the jersey, you're all part of the same crew. And so that's always been really meaningful to me. And I really like the fact that we try to bring this together. It's part of why you will generally not ever hear me talk politics or religion or some of the more, not because I don't have strong feelings, but because I don't want to bring the divisiveness in. I always want it to feel like, a community that's safe to just come and talk Seahawks and to leave the rest of it out. And, that's challenging at times because there's some pretty important messages that I do think are important to deliver, but I try to stick to that for the most part. So Maybe more of an answer than you expected, I guess, Matt. But I mean, it's been fantastic. I'm loving every minute. And hopefully you guys are getting something good out of it. Hopefully this has been good for you. I want to be able to give you more coverage on the road as well. So anything that folks can do to join. There is a new member. Welcome, Byron Masterson. That's one. I think we probably have some new Patreon members as well. I told you, if we get to 50 combined new members from Patreon and YouTube, I will go on the road and start covering the team. Not for probably every road game. My wife would kill me. But I'll start covering a number of the road games. And need some help from you guys to make that possible. So thank you, Byron. Welcome to the family. Great to have you as a YouTube member. 49 or less to go. All right, everybody. I think we're going to cut it there. This has been fun. Hopefully you got some information. I certainly enjoyed myself. I will have instant camp report later today. Make sure you have the bell clicked so you get notified when I go live. And tonight, 7 o'clock p.m. Pacific time, Alyssa Charleston, Dana O'Gorman, Evan Hill, Real Hawk Talk. It's going to be great. You're going to want to be there. So until then, I am Brian Nemhauser. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at HawkBlogger. This has been episode 129 of Hawk Blogger Mornings. Take care, everybody.